Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we'll be talking about doing pro bono work through the New York County Lawyers Association, and with us is their General Counsel and Director of Pro Bono Programs, Anthe Bova. Welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you for having me, Ken.
Before we talk about the many benefits, of course, to the person that's being helped or organization, and the benefit that lawyers get by doing pro bono, how did you yourself get involved in the area of pro bono?
So when I first went to law school, it was always very important to me to give back and to public service. My first job out of law school actually was a public interest fellowship at a local nonprofit in New York. So when I started my career at a couple of big law firms, I made sure to continue that tradition of keeping pro bono work a large part of my the work that I was doing in addition to my paid work.
And you'll explain it later, but I'm sure many large law firms have directors of pro bono, and they can always get in touch with you to find out projects that they can work with the New York County Lawyers Association on.
That's right, and we currently work with a number of different law firms already, including Whiting Case and Patterson-Belknap.
And in addition to big law firms, you're available to help small law firms fulfill their desire to do pro bono work, or even individual attorneys.
That's right, and the New York County Lawyers Association is made up of a number of different types of attorneys, from solos to very small shops to mid-sized firms to large firms as well. So we provide opportunities to all sorts of attorneys and all sorts of areas of law that might be of interest.
And the need is always there, and you can always use more attorneys in law firms.
That's absolutely right. I think the last statistic I heard was there are about 20% of people living in New York are at or below poverty level. So the need for people who cannot afford attorneys is extremely high. We do have programs that aren't necessarily financially need-based, but there are others that are based on poverty level restrictions.
What are some of the areas of law and types of matters that attorneys working through the New York County Lawyers Association can help people with? So
we split our programs between what's considered limited scope legal representation or legal assistance, and then full representation. So we have 4 different programs that are limited scope. Our longest running program is our legal counseling project that's been in place since 1991, where we train attorneys. We have an annual training to advise individuals on the areas of landlord-tenant, employment, and family law. And we run a clinic 3 times a month, with the exception of August and September, and they are able to make appointments and come in and meet with attorneys who have been trained by experts in their field. But that's just one. I mean, we have several others. We also run a program. We have a couple of different programs considered reentry programs, where we're assisting individuals with criminal convictions to effectively help them with employment opportunities. One is advising people on what are considered certificates of relief from civil disabilities, certificates of good conduct, which we do in partnership with the county clerk, Judge Milton Tingling. We also have a project called Project Restore that is very related but different in the sense that we train attorneys to represent individuals with criminal convictions who have been denied vocational licenses by the Department of State, to assist them to be able to get those licenses, a very common one being a security guard license.
And that's a big hurdle to someone joining the workforce?
Having a criminal conviction or criminal record, absolutely. And the Certificates of Relief Project is particularly important to me in the sense that I had helped create it a couple of years ago with Judge Tingling, and it's really just increased in terms of the recognition and the importance that people are actually seeing from it. So we don't do any criminal law related pro bono work specifically, but that particular project really straddles the criminal and the civil laws in the sense that you're assisting someone who has a criminal record to relieve civil barriers to, first and foremost, employment, but also housing as well, voting rights. So there are a number of different barriers, and actually I think it's there are about 2,000 that the National Inventory of Collateral Consequences says there are in New York State.
And do you work with immigrants as well, because there also can be consequence for immigrants of old criminal convictions? That's
right. So we don't have a specific program that deals just with immigrants, but we do have a number of clients that come through that would qualify, be considered immigrants, and they certainly are. They are assisted by our programs to the extent that we see that there might be something very specific that's outside the scope of our expertise. We certainly always recommend that they go to another organization or consult with an attorney on specific consequences.
So you'll try to refer them to someone who might be able to help them without charge, hopefully.
Absolutely. And so one of the roles that we do as well is that we have a really stellar administrator, Irina Katz, who fields phone calls every single day and refers out to a variety of different organizations for basically casework that we can't handle. And at the end of the day, none of this work actually works without partnerships. We don't do this alone. We partner with a lot of other organizations on a variety of our different programs. For legal counseling, we partner with the New York City Bar Association of the City of New York. We have a state central registry program where we partner with Bronx Legal Services, and we partner with New York Law School as well.
And what is the central registry involved?
So we have a program called the State Central Registry Pro Bono Project, where we train individuals, attorneys, or law graduates or law students seeking to get admitted doing pro bono work to represent individuals who have what is considered an indicated report on the State Central Register of Child Abuse and Maltreatment. The reason this work is so very important is that the threshold to get onto the register is extremely low.
So is it the same as the sex offender registry? What's different than that?
It's completely different, okay. But it's a registry in that someone could look it up, but it's not public. It's viewable by employers and police, law enforcement in general. So it's relevant.
And that can be for alleged child neglect or something like
right.
that.
So to be clear, there are about 85% of cases that are considered neglectful. The rest are abuse, and neglectful is the lower standard. Abuse is much worse.
And it's a very subjective standard. There could have been issues from long ago.
It's not only subjective, but to get on the register itself, the standard is called some credible evidence, which is not used in almost any other area of the law. But on top of that, it really is punishing, first and foremost, the poor, but also persons of color, very similar to what we're seeing with issues of mass incarceration. So we have many clients who are coming to us who are, we think are unfairly being treated because of the fact that they're poor and they don't have the same resources as most of us do.
To fight those kind of allegations.
To fight them, absolutely. And also to put someone on the register, you could call in anonymously. And the standard is, if assuming that the claims are true, they're required to investigate. So we have a lot of clients who are victims of domestic violence whose abusers call the registry on their partners, on their victims, out of spite.
And some people do it out of spite in, say, a matrimonial because they're mad at someone for that at that moment.
Yes, and I since doing this work, I've had a lot of attorneys even tell me that this has happened in their case, except it doesn't affect them the same way it would affect someone who is trying to provide for their family and now can no longer work in certain professions because of this indicated report.
Just going back to what you mentioned before, when you provide the training, do attorneys receive CLE credit?
So it depends on the program that we have. So our legal counseling project, where we counsel individuals on landlord, tenant, employment, and family law, we have an annual training. It's a 2-part training, takes place over the course of 2 weeks, where an individual receives the CLE credit after they take the training and then commit to actually participating in the program. Similarly, for the State Central Registry Project, they take the training, which is now online on our website. They take the training, and then if they take a case, then they get the CLE credit for taking that training.
And your training enables attorneys who have no particular expertise in that field to help someone and do pro bono work.
Absolutely. And so this is what I would say, and I say to a lot of attorneys, either just starting out or whether they've been practicing for 30, 40 years, don't be afraid of trying something new. I had no idea about the State Central Registry Project or the fact that it even existed until I joined the New York County Lawyers Association, and this work is so incredibly important. So it is about, doing pro bono is about using your current skill set, and that is very important, and if you have it, use it, that's great, but always try something new. Don't be afraid, and you're going to make a great difference.
And you're expanding the current skills to litigate, to advocate, to counsel, and to listen.
That's right. So one thing I've done since I became director of Pro Bono is I've expanded our program to bring in more law students to do this work. Of course, they can do that in New York State because they're under the supervision of a licensed attorney, but actually administrative hearings in New York, like the State Central Registry Project hearings or Project Restore hearings, you don't even need to be an attorney. That's why they actually sometimes just call them advocates to be able to do that work.
And when a lawyer is engaged in legal proceedings or legal work through your program, are they covered for any malpractice issues?
Right. So we have malpractice insurance for the pro bono programs that we host. Yes, we do.
Okay. We're going to take a short break now. When we come back, I'd like you to tell our listeners about other areas that you help people in and the many benefits to attorneys or law students and young lawyers and not so young lawyers of doing pro bono work and participating in your program. You're listening to Law You Should Know on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. We'll be back in a moment.
This portion of programming on WHPC is brought to you on behalf of the Nassau County Bar Association, who wants you to know about ADR, Alternate Dispute Resolution, which can help you avoid costly, lengthy, and uncertain litigation in court. By resolving disputes through mediation or arbitration, it gives you control over who decides your case. A mediator helps all parties to reach an agreement they can live with, or an arbitrator selected by the parties hears and decides the case. Your attorney can still represent you, but you control who decides your case. ADR is faster and less stressful than fighting in court, and it is a great way to resolve divorce, employment, or commercial disputes. ADR is now offered through the Nassau County Bar Association. Find out more about how ADR can help resolve your dispute by calling 516-747-4070 or visit nassaubar.org.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denise, Corker, and Sauer, here is attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome back to Law You Should Know. We're talking about how attorneys in the New York area can do pro bono work and take advantage of many opportunities through the New York County Lawyers Association, and our guest is their director of pro bono programs, Anthe Bova. You've mentioned the vast array of programs available. Take a moment, and we'll repeat at the end of the show how attorneys can get in touch with you if they want to find out more about your programs or your training, etc.
Sure. So you could always email me at bova@nycla.org, and also my number's 212-267-6646. And I would also welcome you to visit our website, www.nycla.org.
You mentioned some of the areas in which you help attorneys to help the public. What are some other areas, even if it's for a limited scope representation?
Right. So we actually have two other programs that are limited scope. One is our Manhattan Clara project. And I mentioned that partnerships are really important earlier, and it truly is, because this is a hugely collaborative effort. So we help to train and staff attorneys, law students, law graduates to work the Civil Legal Advice Resource Center, which is mainly run by the Feerick Center for Social Justice, and we help in New York County. And that counsels individuals on a limited basis who have been sued by either direct creditors or third-party debt buyers.
And is that held at a physical location?
Right. So that clinic is hosted every single Thursday from 6 to 9 out of the New York County Civil Court.
Oh, at the Civil Court.
That's
okay.
right. That's right.
And this is a very frequent occurrence that people are sued, and people may not be sophisticated to know that the statute of limitations may have run, or there could be many defenses to a lawsuit.
That's right. So I think that what we see with that particular project, or even with our legal counseling project, is just being able to give someone a sounding board in the first place to be able to tell their story is hugely important. But the defenses themselves, something as basic as the debt is not mine. Some people are so afraid to even say it's not mine, and they even go and pay it until they come to us and say, well, that's actually a legitimate defense to say it's not mine.
It's from 10 years ago.
That's
and
right.
Maybe
So
there's no records to support the claim. One
of the biggest issues also is with third-party debt buyers when they buy this debt, pennies on the dollar. When you ask for discovery, they can't actually prove that they own the debt, rather. And then you get the case thrown out, and you have a litigant, someone who's been sued, who has no idea that they can ask them to prove it. So just that very small work that an attorney or law graduate or law student can do during the course of the clinic makes a huge difference.
Are there any other programs that you oversee that you haven't covered yet?
Three others, but I know we don't really have time to talk about all of them.
Just mention them briefly.
So we have the Tax Court Project, which provides counseling to pro se litigants in federal tax court. We have our Social Security Southern District of New York Pro Bono Project, which represents litigants appealing their denial of Social Security claims. And we also have the Clemency Project, which really we had an attorney who was able to successfully commute a sentence for one of just the two who were commuted in 2018.
And just tell us a little bit more how each of those projects helps people. Just spend a minute on each program.
So the Tax Court Project assists individuals navigate the tax court calendar. It helps them navigate settlement negotiations. So again, this is not full scope representation. The person remains pro se for the day. They're just helping them navigate.
It's giving them a little consultation.
That's right. And then with our Social Security Disability Project, that's actually full scope. You have an attorney taking on the full appeal, litigating in federal court for someone who's been denied at the administrative level Social Security benefits that they've applied for. And the Clemency Project is helping people who are incarcerated petition and argue why their sentence should be commuted. And I also don't want to forget our Veterans Discharge Upgrade Project, also full scope. Assists veterans who have less than honorable discharges try to upgrade their discharge.
And why is that very important to them?
It's extremely important because less than honorable discharges can limit the actual benefits received, and also is a huge stigma for someone who has re-entered society after military service. And this is also important because many of these discharges are happening because of either post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic brain injury. And actually used to get discharged even for being homosexual before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed.
And this may affect their medical, their educational, or their disability benefits.
That's right. All of those benefits if you have less than honorable discharges. So being able to upgrade those discharges will vastly help them and also help them really reintegrate back into society by removing that stigma.
You've been involved with pro bono projects a long time, and it may not be obvious to every attorney out there. What are some of the benefits to that attorney of doing a pro bono? So
I'll give a recent specific example. For our Social Security project, we had an attorney, an associate at one of the large law firms that we partner with, Whiting Case, who, as a second-year associate, took on his own federal case in the Southern District of New York, briefed the case on his own. Of course, he had the help and supervision of a partner at the law firm, and he also consulted with one of our volunteer experts in the program, briefed the case, and then had his first oral argument as a second-year associate in federal court. That's something that would either never happen or take years to happen working for a larger law firm.
So for any attorney out there, it may give you a chance to use other skills that you may enjoy and may be able to transfer as it becomes your credentials in applying for advancement within your firm or to another law firm.
Right. So it's not just use other skills, it's actually developing other skills. When I was speaking to him after the oral argument, which I had the privilege to see, he put a lot of work into it, but now he can say and feel comfortable to say, I've been able to do an oral argument in federal court. I could tell he was really proud of himself, and he knows he really helped a client. So it's not just helping yourself. You know that you're actually helping another individual in a very real way.
Any benefits besides that you can think of?
There are certainly a lot, but in pro bono work, you get exposure. So just going with that same example, now this judge, aside from, of course, knowing our pro bono program, knows him. So the next time he appears, perhaps with paid work that he's doing in the Southern District of New York, this attorney now, this judge now knows this person's work. So it's being able to expand your network. And this judge certainly has spoken to us about his work. Actually, the judge was very impressed with his oral argument.
And also, when you're attending a training program, it's a chance to network with other people. You may find out about, make friends or have people you can commiserate with or lead to, possible job opportunities.
That's true. I think that it really depends on the training. A lot of people really just enjoy meeting people who have the same interests in trying to help others out. But for instance, in our legal counseling project, we have attorneys who have been volunteering with our project for years, and they use it as a way to keep up to date with their particular practice, say it's landlord-tenant or family law, and they've made their own networks with other family law and landlord-tenant attorneys by doing that work.
Or any lawyer who wants to expand their skill set can learn, and that will be a skill they have with them, and they can use to market their own practice in a new area, or perhaps as a credential they have in applying for jobs.
That's right. So we've had a couple of brand new volunteers join us this past year who are trying to break into specifically landlord-tenant and that sphere. So they're using this as a way to learn more about the work, give back to the community, but also get to know other landlord-tenant lawyers.
And so it'll be valuable experience that when you're applying for a job in that field or in others, that's going to set you apart from other applicants.
Yes, I think that what we've found is many people know about, especially our legal counseling project, which has been around since 1991, but to be able to say that you've done this great deal of work, and the people who volunteer with us do it consistently, at least once, twice a month. So they gain a lot of experience by doing that.
Where would you like to expand your pro bono work if you had attorneys available and had the resources?
I think I would like to actually expand our existing programs first. So, for instance, with our limited scope legal counseling, our certificates of relief project, where we have legal clinics, where we go to partnering organizations and do day of legal clinics advising people with criminal records. I'd like to expand that program, for instance, to train attorneys to take on full scope representation to assist an individual with their application for a certificate of relief from beginning to end.
So we only have a moment or two left, and you've mentioned before that law students, law graduates, people who are awaiting the results of the bar exam or trying to look for their first job. This is a great way for them to do something constructive and get valuable experience.
That's right. Or even someone who's trying to do a career shift. We have someone who came and won their own Project Restore case, an administrative hearing. He went from being in-house, and he wanted to put out his own shingle, and he just did that.
And if any firms out there, whether they're large firms or small firms, you're able to help them participate in some of your pro bono programs.
Right. So we have 9 different pro bono programs, lots of opportunities for all sorts of law firms, depending on your interests.
And just give us your contact information again.
Sure. My email is abova@nycla.org. And my number is 212-267-6646.
And any final thoughts on why it's good for attorneys to do pro bono?
Well, just think of the Latin term, it's for the public good. But also think about yourself and your own professional development as well. Help yourself and help others.
And many attorneys don't get satisfaction in the ordinary grind of the law office or grind of the court. So this is a way to do something that you enjoy and make friends and gain all those new skills.
Absolutely. And it's a way to think about the law in general as something that is also something you should use for the public good.
I'd like to thank the Director of Pro Bono Programs. She's also the General Counsel for the New York County Lawyers Association, Anthe Bova. If you missed any part of this program and you want to tell someone else about it, it's available as a free podcast at nccradio.org. And you're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, also over the internet at nccradio.org. Please join us next week at the same time for another program on Law You Should Know.